Well, indeed, a good afternoon to you all. Welcome. My name is Peter Akaba, and you are on KTN Business today. And over the next 1 hour, you can expect that we will bring you business perspectives, business stories making headlines here in Nairobi and indeed right across the world. Today, we are looking at, agriculture in a specific way. Of course, you do remember that today we have the next frontier in agriculture, which delves into agriculture and tries to give you insights into just how this sector has been developing in different aspects. We also have results from the tea sector, where, of course, the results for 2016 have been put out by the Agriculture, Authority. We will be bringing you details of that as the show does go on. Also here today, Kenya Airways has indeed turned 40. What has the journey been like? We have that story coming to us from the horse's mouth, a pilot that we have found, and indeed he being able to tell us in his own words where exactly that company has been and where it is going to be. Today, we don't ask you a Twitter poll question as usual. We are asking you to talk to us about our show. Indeed, tell us what you would like to see here on KTN Business today. And also, of course, to ask, that was yesterday's Twitter poll question that we have displayed there. Tell us what you think, about our show, what you want us to, bring you on this show and the perspectives that you would like us to focus on so that we can keep you both informed and entertained as you do your business. Well, to the news of the day, where the national government has downplayed accusations raised by county governments over the disbursement of funds to cater for the ongoing drought in the country. In a notice published in the local dailies, the National Treasury has disclosed that counties have at least 33 billion shillings lying idle in accounts. In the notice, the National Treasury says 11% of revenue is unspent, raising questions over prudent fiscal management by counties. Some of the counties, as per the published accounts, estimated have a whopping 1 billion shillings unspent in their bank accounts, with the list being held by counties standing at about 700 million shillings. Counties have in the last few weeks been appealing for additional funding to fund the purchase of relief food for distraught Kenyans facing hunger. Among the worst hit areas are in the northern parts of Kenya. According to the Treasury Principal Secretary, Dr. Kamau Thuge, he notes that counties should be able to deal with contingencies such as drought by setting aside at least 2% of their revenue to tackle emergencies through an emergency fund. Well, to matters tea now, a beverage, of course, that we know you do like. Well, tea production has jumped 18.4% higher in the year 2016 to hit an all-time high of some 473 million kilograms on the back of favorable weather conditions and aggressive tea husbandry by key stakeholders. In 2015, 399 million kilograms of tea were recorded. The 2016 figure is still remarkably higher compared to other record outputs of 445 million kilograms in the year 2014 and 432 million kilograms in 2013. Tea productivity for the year 2016 per hectare was more or less similar with the one for 2014 and 2013 at some 2,300 kilograms of tea. Output of the total production for 2016, the smallholder sector output was 265.6 million kilos, or about 56% of the total, while the estate subsector was 207.4 million kilos, or about 44%. Owing to increased supply, the Kenya tea auction prices have declined significantly.
This may be explained due to factors of supply and demand. The more you have in terms of quantities relatively in a market, you are also likely to realize a relatively lesser in terms of income. Is indeed we had higher production, and indeed in relative terms also more farmers were able to have some money into their pockets.
During the year, the KTDA managed tea factories had 272 million kilos of made tea sold at an average price of $3 per kilo, which was equivalent to 300 shillings per kilogram. This compares to 259 million kilos sold during the previous year at an average price of $2.61 per kilogram, which was equivalent to 233 shillings. This represents an increase of 15% in tea prices.
For a long time, there was imbalanced benefits from the various players in the tea value chain, with support from Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, my ministry has recently concluded the review of the Kenya tea industry value chain analysis. Its implementation is meant to restructure the value chain and improve the earnings to the farmer.
Well, indeed, the paradox of tea production, where good rains mean increased production but less prices, and, well, depressed production means better prices. Indeed, having to play a balancing act to ensure better pricing for farmers there. Now, moving on, as Kenya Airways marks 40 years in the skies, two of its long-serving employees have shared their experience with the Kenyan carrier in both good and bad times. Speaking during the cutting of the Kenya Airways birthday cake at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport yesterday, Captain Peter Kinyanjui said that he had accumulated over 25,000 flight hours with the carrier in its 40-year journey. Kinyanjui began with the airline as a young avionics engineer at the age of 22. At the same time, Pauline Kamau, who is the manager of load control services, reflected on her first job as a ground hostess at the age of 19 years. Kenya Airways was incorporated on the 22nd of January, the year 1977, following the disbandment of the East Africa Airways.
At one time, when the East African community collapsed, we didn't know where to go from our foreign country. We didn't know who would pay for our ticket on the way back. But I remembered my mother's challenge. After Kenya Airways was formed in February, just after the first flight, we looked for an address to write to the new management of Kenya Airways, because at that time we were 3 candidates being trained from Kenya, 3 from Uganda, and 3 from Tanzania. So at that point, it was every man for himself. So what did we think? Kenya Airways. And I'm still here today. I'm grateful to have been here for that time. It has never felt so great. I still have my letter written by the HR 1977, asking me to report for work on arrival. I keep it very preciously in my safe. I might not have other letters, but that is the letter which kind of steered my career to where we are today. I'm very happy to be on this flight to share my story with you.
I joined the airline way back in 1976, just slightly before the collapse of the defunct East African Airways. In the early days, we started as a very small crew because there was no airline. So we started with only 15 of us who were handling the customer airlines. A few days later, Kenya Airways was formed. I joined as a ground hostess. I have trained for the longest period, training on the very services, the very functions I used to perform when I was at the airport. After training, I moved on to outstation management, finding myself in Dubai, in the UAE, finding myself in Bangkok, in Thailand, and eventually coming back home to take up my current post as a load control services manager. I feel very encouraged to have seen us grow from a very small, almost regional airline to an international airline. Initially, actually, we used to be the signage. We used to meet passengers and take them from one point to the next. From arrivals, we take them to immigration, we take them to customs, and then we come back to our own workstations. Currently, we are using signage. We do not really have to be there. We just meet our flight, and the signage will do the rest of the work for us.
Well, indeed, it is instructive to note that Kenya Airways, at 40 years of existence, going through turbulent times, but of course expecting to come back and fly quieter and remain the pride of Africa, and indeed all of us here wishing them extremely well. Now moving on, we of course had pointed out that we want to talk about matters financial. Now, well, local non-bank financial service provider Sanlam Kenya PLC has embarked on a training program to raise the technical awareness for its marine cargo insurance business partners in Mombasa. The training program for more than 100 business partners follows the recent commencement of local underwriting for maritime cargo destined to and from Kenya. The training events are part of Sanlam Kenya's drive to empower the marine value chain players with technical skills on marine cargo insurance and is aimed at ensuring that the government directive is implemented successfully. Now, of course, speaking in Mombasa, Sanlam General Insurance CEO Mr. George Kuria said that the training programs will be delivered to all Sanlam General Insurance business partners seeking marine cargo insurance services to enable them flawlessly self-manage the underwriting process. Sanlam Kenya is actively seeking the 20 billion shilling marine cargo insurance market by providing services in that sector. Well, to enable us delve a bit into that and give us a authoritative perspective on just what exactly this has meant for the industry, especially the perspective that there has been a government mandate to enable, to require that, exporters and importers into Kenya seek marine insurance locally. In studio with me, I have Nancy Karengedo, the person who's charged with, implementing this directive that was made in the budget last year. You are the PS for maritime affairs.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, karibu sana to studio. First off, not many Kenyans still, exactly know what this maritime insurance is. Indeed, when they didn't even know that we have a person in charge of maritime affairs. What exactly is this in the first place, your docket?
Okay, you're talking about marine cargo
Yes.
insurance, meaning that now the community, not exactly.
Yes.
Implementation. Because it's a requirement that you can marine cargo insurance.
Yeah, so I'm told, sorry to cut you short, I'm told we have some technical challenges. We indeed can just bring you a different report while we fix the challenges, right? And we want to take you to matters agriculture once again, and this time talk about the Bura Irrigation Scheme, where since inception in 1953, the Bura Irrigation Scheme has operated way below capacity due to its reliance on diesel-powered pumps for water supply. This is not only expensive, but limits the ability of the project to expand. On this week's edition of The Next Frontier in Agriculture, Philip Keitani visits the project to assess how a 26-kilometer gravity-driven supply system is set to revolutionize its operations. Take a look.
First mooted in the early 50s and established in 1978, the Bura Irrigation Scheme was set up with the objective of settling the landless, unemployed, or underemployed. The settlement was to take place in a space...
Well, indeed, when it rains, it pours. It seems that we have yet another technical challenge. We want to proceed in a short break to fix these issues, but when we come back, we will, of course, be delving further into both the stories that have preceded this interlude. Do please stay with us. Back in a few minutes.